So let's this is 18th 6 2025 London session. Talk about it. So we had no trades today. Let's talk about how my things were going on. So going into the hourly session, going into the hourly time frame, I find out that we have this 1 hour fair value gap, and just below you have this equal lows, and below that we have this 1 hour fair value gap, and just above we have this 1 hour buy side. So my pre-market analysis was our bias will be solely depending on how we react through this 1 hour fair value gap. If we can look to see that we are breaking through this, I can possibly look to see us to going for this high and then finally go for this external buy side level. But if we end up respecting and displace lower, I can look to see we go rebalance into this fair value gaps, take out these lows, and finally go into the external equal liquidities down here. Okay, so going to the 5 minute time frame sequence wise, uh, this is where we had take our internal, and this is where understanding shift started happening. My idea was to look to see for us this fair value gap get broken to confirm us we will be going lower over the period of time. There was one kind of scenario was right in a bigger picture time frame. Like right now what's happening, as you can see, as we broke through the 5 minute, we also have done a internal model in the 15 minute confirming us, as you can see, low high low high high low low, out of this 1 hour time frame confirming a bigger time frame shift in structure. In the 15 minute confirming, we have a very high chance of going lower into this level now. But that's what happened after this 5 minute got broken. But as our idea was, it's not that we were wrong. As this happened, now it's gonna take quite a bit of time to confirm. We'll go here, then you gotta see the model again, and then displacing everything have to go through, follow through again to confirm us we are coming lower. Okay, so this is one way of thinking, and there could be another way of thinking to confirm us to take the trades, or maybe even something better is when this internal was swept according to the plan, we have to drop down to a lower time frame like 30 seconds or 1 minute to confirm that again one another internal model. The same I have confirmed with the DMT thing. 1 minute. So let's drop down to the 1 minute. And as you can see, once you've gone into that, I'm going to look to see the same thing again, internal, another shifting structure into the market. We had this high, low, high, but neither any of this I can consider as a displacement, right? And then I'd be waiting. As I waited, my initial focus today was to see this 5 minute fair value gap get broken. So I never thought of this way, but these are the way I have to understand. There is multiple way of your thinking. Okay, so what happened end up, we didn't broke through here. Any of this wouldn't be considered as my model. So I wait, and we end up having an divergence between delta and price around here. Okay, and then now once that happens, as the delta forms, now I need to see that some form of level, let's say a low or a high fair value gap, anything needs to be closed through. Now possibly a displacement, or possibly overall close through that level, end up happening here. We end up swiping this internal high here. These are the all up close candles, as you can see, got closed through the down close candles here. Now once this happened, it confirming these up close candles now has become a part of an order block. And or the order block continuation theory, we either have to come from, either the order blocks, the up close candles or down close candles need to come out of one levels, like let's say from another order block, from sweeping after some sort of highs and lows, either from a fair value gap. Okay, now in this case we end up sweeping this out and end up closing after we form that delta divergence between price and delta. We closed through that, confirming this now has become an order block. Now what can I look to see is to go into this level and displace lower. During this time we still hadn't broke through the fair value gap, but considering this we have an idea that okay, so now confirms this, now this movement confirms this shift in structure, a valid shift in structure, which I wasn't having before. And if I draw out the standard deviation, I can possibly look to see what could be my possible targets. There's this equal low, this low. Now I can, now through this I have an external target and an internal target according to this. Okay, now in this case I can anticipate the 5 minute would broke down and we would go towards this. There's two way. Either I can take the trade out of here, which in this case would have played out. Maybe my stop above this high. First TP would be here and the second would be here. Okay, not that bad, I guess. And another way of doing is to actually wait for the entry. Actually, as you can see now, this one got broken. I have to wait again to go into that from my model and everything, right? So this is also right. That is also right. It's your opinion. It's your understanding how you would go into it. Okay. Now it's all right. I won't say it's bad or something, right? Like this was the same as the way I understand my bias, like the validation and invalidation way, right? Yeah. So and this ended up happening, and this trade ended up playing out pretty nicely. And during, now talk about a little bit of volume profile. So once this was confirmed, now it's time, like once we had this, now it confirmed that the shift in structure was right. So I can pull out my volume profile out of this level from that low to, let's say, the current price where we are at back that time. Now it's confirming. Now one thing that only I need to confirm from the volume profile, that we are not coming out of a high volume zone. Now this seems like okay, it's a low volume zone. Trader has led interest in that, and we had the nice. Now as you can see, then I can consider the afterwards as the shifting structure happened. That means we came out of a nice area. Okay, also can help me out to put my stop loss in this case. If I put my stop, I know I have to put my stop. If I put my stop here above this high volume zone, it's more secure, right? And this also confirmed that we already came out of a low volume zone where price has very less interest. Trader has very less interest in trading, so we might not go back in there and whatever, right? That's all I need to confirm from the volume profile, and then slowly look to see how it's happening. So let's see. Then we had a bit of chop here. Gotta say we had quite a bit of chop today. Here chopping, high volume zone getting created. Okay, let's see who take out the control after that. Like, yeah, if the high volume zone is created, I would look to see like an accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Maybe let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens. Who takes control and push the price lower. And as you can see, after that time, you can see that the volume has now, the value area now has been shifted from up here to down here, and a huge amount of volume got created here. Now this is quite a bit of thing. Is sometimes you can see as we have shifted, after the shift happened in the value area and the volume, the POC, we didn't took much time to started displacing lower, showing us that at this high volume zone, when a very high volume was traded, sellers actually, it's a high volume zone, buyers and sellers are getting fair price, but sellers were very powerful that they, with a very less amount of time, they took out everything that buyers had to offer, absorbed everything and pushed the price lower. So this is all I actually need to care about. One is to understand the way the continuation happening through like this, and as you can see, as you're pushing lower, this low volume zone a little bit later turned into a high volume zone. We went into this low volume zone, we didn't sweep through it, we spent a very less time, and then we started pushing lower. So these kind of things that only matters from volume profile is seeing what the model is forming, and after the model, as we are continuing, how the volume profile, how the buyers and sellers, how the distribution of volume is happening. That's all I need to care about. Okay, and the entry criteria for the model would be, I don't need to see the volume profile. All I just need to see is something like this, a level to retest back in and enter into a trade. So this one end up playing out. So the post trade idea, in the post trade, what I would like to confirm is, let me just write it down. Post trade, find out that time frame sequence wise, you need to believe in your model. Like, as this 5 minute low got high got put in and we sweep it, I need to shift into the 1 minute and look to see the same thing happen again, confirming us either we are going higher or lower. Like, through the, and we'll draw also the volume profile. uh, there will be two volume profile, right? Like, if you draw out, once you enter into this high volume zone, like we have entered somewhere in here. By the time we're here, we're all into this low volume zone, and when the shifting structure happened, I also drawed out the volume profile confirming we were at a very perfect place to displace. Lower, we were at a very perfect place to shift our structure. So stop loss sequence, which I can say the time frame sequence, the TF sequence be followed must be followed. And just like in this case, both ideas were right. Even if I had took this one was right, and right, what I did was also right, is to wait for this 5 minute to get broken through, and then wait for the entry. Now, which is more preferable, makes more sense. Obviously, this 5 minute fair value get broken through, but after that there's a lot of things changes as well. So it's gonna take quite a bit of time to actually give you that entry that you're looking for. But this one's faster, I would say. Like, yeah, we could have come here, and then kind of, yeah, we could have go higher. Unless we came back into this 5 minute fair value gap, and then, yeah, we could have pushed higher maybe. But what's telling you that we have a very less chance of breaking through? Obviously, the divergence in this case. In other case, would be a shift in structure. That's the thing you need to believe, that either the divergence or either that shift in structure, that you need to believe. You need to believe that either that divergence or that MSS is what showed that price has a very low chance of going there. Why I'm saying a low chance? Because nobody is 100% perfect. I cannot say if I don't know. I really don't know that if price will done it or not. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I really, really, really do not know. Okay, what's gonna happen? I really don't know. So, and let's talk about another thing which I'm thinking. If you look at this current price action right now, as I can see that there is this formation happening right now. As you can see, is we're into this 1 hour fair value gap, and a 15-minute model end up happening. We have this massive push sweep, and you started pushing to the upside. Now this is telling you a bigger time frame shift in structure. Right now, what I need to see, again, now once you go here, I'm gonna see the whole process one another time to confirm us to come lower. Now here I'm thinking of taking a position to let's see what happens. So let's say let's take a position and let's see what happens uh, in a bigger. This is going to be a different entry from usually what I take. I do trade during the day, but let's this is going to be a quite a longer time frame trade. So let's see how this trade end up playing out. Okay. So this is the New York AM session. So let's talk about what we have done through the New York AM session. So let's explain the bias. Okay, so from the London session, we already had uh, this breaker block, which we end up protecting and came towards this low. Okay, and the protecting came towards this low. So my bias was again solely based on the respect and the disrespect, the validation and the invalidation of this 15-minute low down here. If you can see that we are watching a significant breakthrough or displaced through this level, I can look to see us to go towards this towards this equal liquidities. If not, I can look to see us to uh, go, back into this level, possibly the next high which we had here. So what ended up happening, if you can see that we opened up here, and then by this is when the New York 9:30 a.m. opens. In Indian IST it's 7 a.m. 7 p.m. So this is when we open. We started sweeping out. So I started marking out through my volume profile. Let's see what we have seen in the volume profile as well. So first, see our local volume profile, which I draw from the moment we enter into a POI to see how the volume is getting distributed through after we entered the POI, right? So this is when we entered into the POI, and I was looking to see either a break or a continuation. So let's say what happens here. So if you look at this correctly, we didn't had any interest below this level to see that there were interest traders at low. When price was below, there was no one interested to do any sort of trade. So this becomes a low volume zone, as you can see also through this. I mean, there was no. If this one would have turned into a high volume zone after we entered here, we could have get an idea that we might have a chance of, you know, we might have a chance of continuing. Okay, this is a way of understanding continuation through volume profile. So after that, we had this massive push. There would be an entry by now, because we still sweep into this. We're still waiting for either a reversal or retracement. We had a delta divergence here, and after we had this delta divergence, we had this huge push. By the time we had broke through this high, it was like too late to entry, so there was no entry at all. So we had this massive push to the upside, and later we started, uh, chopping here, kind of became a balanced range, and then we finally came back to this fair value gap up down here. So again, with the same perspective, which is the respect and the disrespectance of PDOA. Now, if I can see us breaking through this fair value gap, like it will be instant push up and instant push down. If you can look to see that we can break through this fair value gap, I will be pretty sure that we have a very high chance of coming towards this sell side liquidity. But if we respect that, I can definitely look to see us to go higher. What could be if you look at it, if you respect it, what could be the most next possible liquidity? Obviously this one, right? This is also the one. If we can break through this one, can look to see us go for higher liquidity. So this is exactly the break of structure point, and these points are very important, guys. As you can see, we wasn't able to break through this point. We swept and displaced lower back into the range, and then finally end up coming back into here. But if we had enough pressure, buying pressure, to break through this level, we'd have definitely go for this buy side liquidity above. Okay, so let's say once we came here, what happened after that. Okay, we came here. So again, drawing my volume profile, and here exactly. So if you look at this, what ended up happening, it was a pretty quick push, quick move to the upside. As you can see, we came back. I put our volume profile. We started chopping. This became a little bit high. So again, the same idea of accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. Whenever we see an accumulation through a high volume zone, I try to anticipate and try to match the manipulation and distribution with my bias. Okay, so we end up coming back into this, end up sweeping the internal. This is the first thing we have done. So this is a high, this is a low, this is a high, this is a lower low. Then I want to see a break of this high, which will consider as a market structure shift. The basic thing I need to see for my model. But there was a very beautiful thing is we just when he came back, sweep that, we formed a divergence between delta and price. So as soon as the divergence formed, I waited to see this fair value gap get broken. And then we broke through this fair value gap, came back, and when this candle closed, that's when I took my entry. As you can see, it's already here. That's when I took my entry, and it's the way of my entering into uh, uh, a position once there is confirmed divergence. Okay, once the divergence is formed, now I do not need to see a proper shifting structure into the market. I just want to see any sort of high or low get broken, or any sort of fair value gap get run through, just like this. This divergence between delta and price shows, you have to always remember that delta, price follows delta. Okay, so if there's a divergence, if there was a divergence, that means price, price was making a lower low, but delta somewhere was not able to make a lower low, showing us that there are people are not willing to sell here, right? Even if price is trying to go lower, but the delta doesn't seems to be going lower. And always remember that delta price is always getting followed by delta. Wherever delta goes, price follows that way. Okay, so as soon as this happened, uh, I entered into long here from this candle as soon as it closed, and yeah, we closed through that, came back, we entered here, literally zero drawdown into this trade, and we end up pushing higher. This is exactly when if now, and this trade end up working out nicely. Now let's check out the volume profile, is how I have read the volume profile. So this was the first, uh, why I put my stop is here is because first of all, when this happened and it started pushing higher, first thing that I need to see that we are not should be coming out of a high volume zone. We are out of a very low volume zone, no interest, price has no interest in trading there. That means we have a very, very less chance of going back into that place again. Okay, delta divergence confirmed through this fair value gap broken, internet long. So let's see what end up happening. Started pushing higher, as you can see. Small volume started coming up here, as you can see. Good sign for a continuation. And as you can see, slowly this one started turning into a high volume zone. So let's see what's happening. So as you can see, we started forming a high volume zone, right? So what I can look to see again, if there I want to see accumulation, if I want to see an accumulation, then if my bias is bullish, then I want to see a manipulation and a distribution. Same thing started happen, accumulation, manipulation, and then you end up working through this level. So let's see how the volume profile was looking by then. Came into this low volume zone, absolutely respected that low volume zone, small and just respected this low volume zone and end up pushing to the upside. We have this massive push. So this is the same thing again if you look closely. Uh, Look at this. We have this push, low volume zone, uh, low volume zone, Second candle comes, this turned into a high volume zone. This turned into a high volume zone. That means at this top level, it was a level where the traders were interested. The auction took place here. Okay, that means there was willing traders were buying and selling at this level, at this top level, as price is pushing higher. As price is pushing higher through a reversal, we are having volumes at the top of the levels after this kind of push. So my idea from here, what I see is the next low volume zone must need to be got respected. Like if we just break through this fair value low volume zone, that's a different story for me. Is that means that if this low volume, so over the period of time it depends on, sometimes you can see that we have this kind of volume, then slowly this low volume zone turn into a high volume zone, chopping and through a lot of things. So eventually this becomes a low volume zone, and that means willing buyers and traders who are selling less in this buying scenario, where this could be a bad thing. This one turned into a low volume zone, high volume zone, then slowly these low volume zones throughout this job turned into a high volume zone. Okay. And then eventually this one became a low volume zone and price actually shifted its structure out of it. So these kind of scenarios could be where you can consider through volume profile that you might be now in the wrong side after, let's say, take out of this highs, price actually does that. So that's when you can consider that you are now into the wrong. If you're into a trade, get out of the trade, and a lot of things you can do to protect yourself. Now in this case, as the volume going high, we started having huge volume remain. Notice to see that we still having this low volume zone here. We came once, end up respecting that. What this means is we came here and we started stalling. We started slowing down into low volume zones. Actually shows that there is someone who is here actually absorbing all the sell orders that are coming out of the market. Their sellers are just trying to selling at higher price, but here buyers are sitting down who are actually absorbing the price. How can I say that buyers are sitting down? Throughout this push, look how the way we are pushing to the upside. This connects that buyers are sitting down here who are absorbing the price. Okay, so again, so accumulation by this time. By this time here we have this huge volume cluster here, accumulation, manipulation, then again trying to understand the accumulation, manipulation, distribution along aligning with our bias is higher, drawn liquidity is higher, accumulation, manipulation. I can consider this one a manipulation. Now I want to see a push to the upside. This is the push to the upside, and end up breaking through this high volume cluster as well with such force. Very good. It's a very good scenario. That means they were willing to trade, they were buying and selling at this position, but buyers got heavy and they broke through that high volume zone. This shows the strength of buyers. And also one thing to be noticed that without this time, the whole volume profile, a very big change happened into the volume profile, which means the first thing, the POC got changed. That shows the most amount of volume that was traded has been into this area now. And the 70%, the fair value now has been shifted upwards as well. It doesn't mean any happen going higher or lower. You have to connect it with your buyers, strong liquidity, and the price action. So one thing that I say, usually when this kind of shift happens, like high volume got traded into this level, that means this is the area where buyers or sellers are getting the most fair value, they are getting the most fair value price, where buyers and sellers are both can easily buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. So most likely in these cases we have a lot of job, but in some scenarios we don't see job and we see huge push like this. That means this shows a very significant thing about this one side who is in strong. Like in this case, we have this massive push to the upside. This shows that even this was a high volume zone, even this was the most fair value area. Buyers were within a very short period of time was able to absorb every sell orders and was able to push price higher. This shows the significant strength of buyers that they want to push price higher where I have my drawn liquidity in my mind, which is up here. So that's end up tapping in. That's end up tapping in, as you can see. Again, you're gonna see there is some volume coming in into these levels as well. So let's see if it happens. See, slowly start turning into a high volume zone. End up come back into this, close to that level. So this end up becoming another very important level, an order block level. So then from there we had this push to the upside, end up taking out that high that was our draw on liquidity. So this is how I read the volume profile, and this is how I used volume profile to conduct volume profile and delta to conduct my and to clarify my model and entry. So pretty much that's all for the learning session. One trade end up playing out very nicely.